Sugar Mom's strong love for young man leads to death. Melissa Carter, a remarkably accomplished 52-year-old, had carved out her empire in the competitive realm of biotechnology. Leading a pioneering company in brain interface technology, Melissa was celebrated for her keen intelligence and relentless drive. She navigated life with the poise of someone accustomed to success, dominating both the corporate sphere and her personal life. Liam Harper, a 20-year-old with a mysterious allure, seemed an unlikely companion for the sophisticated and composed Melissa. A college dropout with a tumultuous background, Liam had meandered through a succession of aimless jobs until a fortuitous meeting with Melissa altered his life's direction. Their relationship, though atypical, seemed to fulfill each other's needs. Melissa found a dynamic young partner to mitigate her solitude, while Liam gained financial stability and a glimpse into a world of opulence previously beyond his reach. For nearly a year, their partnership thrived in the secluded corners of Riverton. However, as the seasons transitioned from summer to fall, changes in their relationship dynamics triggered a series of events leading to a tragic conclusion, exposing the sinister undercurrents lurking beneath the town's flawless facade. Melissa's journey to affluence and authority began in the middle-class suburbs of Boston, born to a high school chemistry teacher and a librarian. Displaying a natural inclination for science and a profound fascination with the human psyche from a young age, her parents sacrificed much to unlock every educational opportunity for her. At 16, Melissa's life transformed dramatically when her science fair project on neurotransmitters captured the interest of a visiting MIT professor. Struck by her exceptional talent, he mentored her, accelerating her academic journey into MIT's esteemed neuroscience program. Here, Melissa's ambitions soared. Her groundbreaking research on neuroplasticity during her graduate studies caught the eye of several biotech startups. By the age of 25, she had not only secured her first patent, but also launched a burgeoning enterprise specializing in brain-computer interfaces. Under Melissa's leadership, the company's fortunes skyrocketed, paralleling the technological advancements they championed. With each milestone, Melissa's wealth and stature escalated, as did her notoriety for being fiercely uncompromising. Former colleagues whispered about Melissa Carter's skill in charming and manipulating, her knack for pinpointing vulnerabilities and exploiting them without mercy. Melissa's private life was a tableau of fleeting marriages, each dissolving as her partners discovered they could not rival her true love, her career. Her initial spouse, a fellow researcher from MIT, endured only 3 years before he initiated a divorce, citing emotional abandonment. The next, a charismatic venture capitalist, reached the 5-year mark before Melissa's doubts about his loyalty precipitated a bitter breakup. Following her third separation at 48, from a younger art dealer who accused her of overbearing control, Melissa renounced traditional relationships. She shifted her focus to younger men, attracted by their vigor and the straightforwardness of purely transactional interactions. This lifestyle fit her well, allowing her to retain dominance while fulfilling her desires for companionship and intimacy. Yet as Melissa neared her 50s, a creeping loneliness began to unsettle her. This hidden vulnerability, masked by her polished demeanor, left her open to the captivating charm of Liam Harper and the ensuing toxic jealousy. Liam's upbringing starkly contrasted with Melissa's. Born into a struggling family in rural Pennsylvania, he was the youngest of 4, with a home life perpetually on the brink of financial ruin. His father, a long-haul trucker with a drinking problem, was seldom around. His mother, overwhelmed and battling depression, barely managed to keep the family together. From a tender age, Liam learned self-reliance. Blessed with good looks and a natural charm, he realized early that he could use these traits to his advantage. By high school, Liam had mastered the art of coasting through life with minimal effort, using his charm to compensate for his academic and disciplinary lapses. Despite his lackluster school performance, Liam's SAT scores were unexpectedly high, suggesting a potential he seldom utilized. His athletic talents, particularly in basketball, secured him a scholarship to a small liberal arts college in Philadelphia. However, the liberties of college life soon overwhelmed him. Removed from the structured environment of his youth, he indulged in the party scene, leading to a rapid decline in his academic standing and the eventual loss of his scholarship by the end of his freshman year. Too humiliated to face his family, Liam Harper chose to remain in Philadelphia, oscillating between low-paying jobs and couch surfing at friends' places. During this drifting phase, Liam's life crossed paths with Melissa Carter's when he worked as a barista at a high-end cafe popular among business elites. Melissa first noticed Liam on a rain-soaked Tuesday morning. She was captivated by his effortless smile and the subtle vulnerability beneath his assured exterior. For Liam, Melissa epitomized all he aspired to: elegance, success, and a gateway to a life beyond his modest roots. Their initial banter quickly deepened into a more profound connection. Intrigued by Liam's untapped potential and keen to mold him into her perfect consort, Melissa proposed a deal. She would support him financially, usher him into her world of opulence and sophistication in return for his undivided attention. Confronted with escalating debts and bleak prospects, Liam found the proposition irresistible. Embracing the chance, Melissa extended an invitation to a gallery opening, her tone suggesting it was more than just a casual offer. She picked him up from his modest flat, presenting him with a tailor-made suit that draped him flawlessly. Throughout the event, Melissa skillfully navigated Liam, subtly educating him about the art pieces and introducing him as her promising young protege to her network. For Liam, the evening was a revelation. He seamlessly adopted the persona of a suave, cultured young man, thriving on the nods of approval and engaging dialogues with Melissa's acquaintances. As the evening unfolded, the chemistry between them intensified, culminating in a fervent encounter at Melissa's luxurious penthouse. In the tranquility that followed, Melissa detailed her offer: a generous monthly stipend, the option to fund his education should he choose to return to college, and access to opportunities beyond his imagination. In exchange, she expected his loyalty, discretion, and exclusivity. Seeing a path to redefine himself and break away from his aimless past, Liam consented without a second thought. The subsequent months transformed Liam. Melissa moved him into her estate's guest house, upgraded his wardrobe to designer brands, and introduced him to high society's luxuries. Melissa enrolled Liam in art appreciation courses, secured a personal trainer to refine his already striking physique, and taught him the subtleties of wine tasting and gourmet dining. Melissa derived immense satisfaction from shaping Liam, seeing him as both a project and a trophy. She thrived on the envious looks they garnered at social functions, proudly showcasing her handsome young companion. For Liam, their relationship balanced security and thrill perfectly. He immersed himself in his new lifestyle with zeal, eager to demonstrate his value and sustain the opulent life he was swiftly embracing. Their romantic life was fervent and exploratory, with Melissa introducing Liam to realms he had never envisioned. She challenged his limits while always keeping control, a dynamic that extended into other facets of their relationship. As the season shifted from summer to autumn, Melissa and Liam found a rhythm filled with extravagant holidays, societal gatherings, and cozy nights in. Externally, they seemed an unorthodox yet content pair. However, beneath this facade, a web of codependency and fixation began to form, priming them for impending conflict. This fragile equilibrium in Melissa and Liam's relationship started to waver with the entry of Eliza Bennett, a 20-year-old art history student from the local college. Eliza, working part-time as a docent at the Museum of Modern Art, met Liam during one of his routine museum visits, a practice Melissa encouraged to deepen his art knowledge. Leading a tour, Eliza's zeal for the art shone through her animated explanations and perceptive insights. Liam was captivated by her fervor, a stark contrast to Melissa's more calculated art appreciation. After the tour, Liam approached Eliza, and they struck up a conversation about the exhibit. Their interaction was natural, filled with laughter and an evident mutual attraction. For the first time in many months, Liam felt genuinely seen for who he was, not just as an extension of Melissa. Eliza, with her lively demeanor and contagious laughter, embodied everything Melissa wasn't. Where Melissa was polished and composed, Eliza was spontaneous and vibrant. Her youthful exuberance and energy appealed to Liam, reminding him of the personal connections he had foregone in his arrangement with Melissa. Over the ensuing weeks, Liam found himself drawn increasingly to the museum, cleverly timing his visits to coincide with Eliza's shifts. Their friendship quickly deepened, united by shared passions for art, music, and philosophy. Eliza introduced Liam to the vibrant college scene, parties, indie film showings, and late-night conversations in round-the-clock diners. For Liam, these encounters with Eliza and her circle were a rejuvenating change. He rediscovered facets of his identity that had been overshadowed in his relationship with Melissa, including his latent artistic talents. Eliza encouraged him to explore his interest in photography, even gifting him a vintage camera she had stumbled upon at a flea market. As Liam spent more time with Eliza, he began to reassess his arrangement with Melissa. The stark difference between the authentic connection he felt with Eliza and the transactional nature of his relationship with Melissa grew increasingly evident. He found himself fabricating reasons to leave the estate, his thoughts continually wandering to Eliza. Unaware to Liam, his altered behavior and mounting distraction did not escape Melissa's notice. Her acute instincts, sharpened by years in the corporate world, detected a change. As Liam distanced himself, Melissa's resolve to keep him under her influence intensified, priming the ground for the impending crisis. The initial signs were subtle. Melissa observed Liam checking his phone more often, his expression brightening with particular messages. He increasingly claimed to be spending time at the museum, professing a burgeoning interest in modern art. While Melissa had initially supported this interest, she soon harbored growing suspicions. One evening, as they readied for a charity gala, Melissa casually inquired about Liam's day at the museum. His reply was animated, filled with tales of a new exhibit, but it was his mention of Eliza, the exceptionally insightful docent, that caught Melissa's ear. The sparkle in Liam's eyes as he spoke of her triggered Melissa's alarms. Resolved to ascertain the truth, Melissa began to monitor Liam's movements more closely. She covertly installed a GPS tracker on his phone, disguised as a security update, and employed a private investigator to shadow him on his excursions. The information she gathered confirmed her deepest concerns. Liam was frequently seen with a young woman, their interactions unmistakably intimate. As evidence of Liam's deepening bond with Eliza accumulated, Melissa's jealousy intensified. She vacillated between cold detachment and needy desperation, her emotional states becoming alarmingly erratic. One moment, she lavished Liam with costly presents. The next, she bombarded him with passive-aggressive remarks and thinly veiled threats. Melissa's turmoil started to spill over into her professional realm as well. She grew distracted during crucial meetings, often snapping at employees over trivial mistakes. Her assistant noticed a surge in her alcohol consumption, frequently discovering empty wine bottles in her office trash. Unable to suppress her suspicions any longer, Melissa confronted Liam after he returned home late one evening. She demanded to know his whereabouts, accusing him of eroding her trust. Caught off guard, Liam tried to minimize his connection with Eliza, asserting that Melissa was overreacting. The argument quickly escalated, with Melissa recounting all she had done for him and insinuating his indebtedness to her loyalty. This confrontation became a pivotal moment in their relationship. Feeling cornered and increasingly resentful of Melissa's controlling behavior, Liam started to pull away. He became secretive with his phone, avoided mentioning Eliza, and concocted complex excuses for his absences. Driven by escalating paranoia, Melissa amplified her efforts to dominate him. She insisted on accompanying him to art events, her possessive demeanor warding off anyone who got close. She made unexpected visits to the museum, her keen eyes scanning for any trace of the young docent who had captivated Liam's interest. As the weeks passed, the emotional rift between Melissa and Liam deepened. Their once fervent encounters turned mechanical, shadowed by a growing resentment. Melissa's jealousy evolved into an obsession, consuming her thoughts and pushing her to increasingly frantic acts to keep Liam by her side. Unbeknownst to her, her possessive love was driving Liam further away, setting the stage for a climactic showdown with deadly repercussions. As her jealousy reached new heights, Melissa embarked on a calculated crusade to maintain control over Liam. Utilizing the same strategic acumen that had propelled her to business success, she executed a series of manipulation tactics aimed at keeping Liam dependent and isolated from Eliza's influence. Melissa's initial strategy was to leverage Liam's financial reliance. She started to withhold his allowance, citing fabricated complications with her accounts or claiming the necessity to redirect funds for business purposes. Whenever Liam voiced concerns, she would eventually yield, but not before securing promises of greater commitment and more time spent together. Emotional manipulation became Melissa's chief tactic. She fluctuated between showering Liam with affection and subjecting him to prolonged periods of cold silence. This unpredictable behavior kept Liam perpetually unsettled, unsure of his standing. Melissa also implemented subtler methods to isolate him from potential support networks. She planned trips that coincidentally overlapped with Liam's arrangements with friends. She voiced skepticism about his old friends, suggesting they were either bad influences or merely exploiting him for his newfound status. Gradually, Liam's social interactions dwindled, positioning Melissa as his main source of companionship and approval. In moments where she felt threatened, Melissa would remind Liam of all her contributions to his life, portraying her controlling actions as demonstrations of love and kindness. She'd recount how she lifted him from poverty and obscurity, insinuating that without her, he would amount to nothing. These guilt-inducing tactics were designed to reinforce Liam's sense of duty and indebtedness towards Melissa. As Liam increasingly withdrew, Melissa's methods became more desperate. She started to feign health crises, alleging stress-induced migraines or fainting spells that suspiciously aligned with times Liam planned to leave the house alone. Her acting was so persuasive that Liam often canceled his plans, genuinely worried for her well-being. Through this intricate web of manipulation, Melissa aimed to craft a reality where Liam felt dependent on her, where his independence was gradually eroded, making staying with her appear as the sole viable option. However, with each manipulative move, she was inadvertently driving Liam towards his breaking point, fueling a resentment that was bound to erupt with dire repercussions. During one of her covert investigations into Liam's background, Melissa uncovered a secret she believed would grant her ultimate control. Through her network of private investigators, she discovered that Liam had been involved in a car accident during his freshman year at college, which had resulted in serious injury to another student, but Liam had fled the scene in a panic. The turning point came on a brisk autumn evening. Melissa had coerced Liam into attending a gallery opening, showcasing him among her peers as if he were a trophy. As they navigated the crowd, Liam's gaze met a familiar face across the room. It was Eliza, radiant in a vintage dress. Her presence sharply reminded him of the freedom and genuine connections he had sacrificed. Before Melissa could react, Liam muttered an excuse and hurried out of the gallery. He wandered the streets, his mind in turmoil. The chance meeting with Eliza rekindled a fierce longing for freedom and reawakened his sense of self. When Liam returned to the estate in the early hours, he was met by Melissa, her expression one of icy fury. The ensuing argument was more intense than any before. Empowered by his epiphany and no longer willing to be dominated, Liam confronted Melissa about her manipulative and coercive tactics. Feeling her control slip, Melissa played her final card. She threatened to expose Liam's past indiscretions and wield her influence to ruin any prospects he might have. She depicted in vivid terms the destruction that awaited him should he choose to leave her. However, her threats only fortified Liam's determination. In a moment of lucidity, he realized that no future with Melissa, no matter how opulent, could justify the loss of his integrity. With unexpected calm amidst the storm, he informed Melissa that he was leaving. Consequences be damned. Faced with the imminent loss of Liam despite her desperate efforts, Melissa snapped. As Liam turned to leave, Melissa's composure broke completely. She screamed in a blend of rage and desperation, lunging at him and scratching his face with her manicured nails. Caught off guard by her sudden aggression, Liam staggered backward, knocking over an antique vase that crashed to the marble floor. The sound of the breaking vase seemed to drive Melissa further into madness. She seized a heavy crystal decanter from a bar cart and swung it at Liam's head. He ducked, narrowly avoiding the blow as the decanter shattered against the wall behind him. Glass shards and costly scotch rained down on them both as Liam, realizing the perilous turn of events, attempted to restrain Melissa, pleading with her to calm down. However, Melissa was beyond reasoning, clawing at him, kicking, and screaming incoherently about betrayal and ingratitude. In the tumult, they collided with Melissa's prized art collection, causing paintings to crash down around them. As they struggled, Melissa's hand found a letter opener on her desk, a sinister, ornate object more suited as a weapon than a stationary tool. She thrust it towards Liam's chest. He managed to deflect the blow, but the blade sliced deeply into his arm, spattering blood. The sight of blood momentarily brought Melissa back to her senses. She staggered back, the letter opener slipping from her limp fingers. Liam, clutching his bleeding arm, seized the chance to flee and sprinted towards the door. But Melissa, in a last act of desperation, clutched his injured arm, pulling him back with unexpected force. Reacting on pure instinct and adrenaline, Liam pushed her away forcefully. Melissa stumbled back, her heels snagging on the rug. Time seemed to decelerate as she fell, her head striking the corner of the heavy marble fireplace with a dreadful crack. Melissa collapsed to the floor, a pool of blood quickly spreading around her head. Liam stood paralyzed, struggling to comprehend the chaos that had unfolded. The room, once a setting of turmoil, was now eerily silent. With shaking hands, Liam checked for a pulse, finding none. The harsh reality struck him heavily. Melissa was dead, and his life as he knew it had irrevocably changed. In a daze, he left the house, stepping into the cool night, leaving behind a scene destined to become the focus of a sensational investigation. The grim discovery was made by Melissa's housekeeper, Maria Sanchez, early the next morning. Her screams upon finding her employer's lifeless body broke the serene morning quiet of Riverton, drawing neighbors and sparking a flurry of emergency calls. Detective Ann Carter, seasoned from her tenure in Riverton's homicide division, arrived on the scene within the hour. The opulent living room, now a crime scene, narrated the tale of a brutal struggle. Crunching glass underfoot, she surveyed the area, noting the upturned furniture, broken relics, and the blood trails leading to Melissa's body by the fireplace. As forensic experts converged on the house, Detective Carter began reconstructing the events of the tragic night. Security camera footage captured Liam fleeing the estate in the early hours, his shirt marred by blood. His rapid departure made him the primary suspect, prompting an all-points bulletin for his arrest. However, as the investigation deepened, a more intricate narrative began to unfold. Interviews with staff and acquaintances depicted the volatile nature of Melissa and Liam's relationship. Numerous witnesses recounted overhearing frequent disputes and voiced concerns over Melissa's progressively unstable behavior. A critical breakthrough occurred when detectives uncovered Melissa's covert files, which documented her investigation into Liam's past. The evidence of blackmail introduced a new layer to the case, suggesting Liam may have acted out of desperation rather than premeditated murder. Meanwhile, Liam remained elusive, with reported sightings across the state, but no successful apprehension. The investigation's turning point came from an unexpected source. Eliza Thornton, overwhelmed by guilt for her indirect involvement, came forward with pivotal information. She handed over text messages and voicemails from Liam that detailed Melissa's escalating intimidation and his increasing apprehension. Eliza's account portrayed Liam as a victim of manipulation and psychological abuse, entrapped by Melissa's wealth and threats. This revelation led Detective Carter to probe deeper into Melissa's background, uncovering a history of obsessive conduct and accusations of stalking from past relationships. Forensic analysis at the crime scene began to align with Liam's account. The trajectory of Melissa's fatal injury suggested an accidental fall, and defensive wounds on her hands indicated she had been the aggressor during their final altercation. Perhaps the most incriminating evidence emerged from Melissa's digital trail. A thorough review of her computers unveiled extensive surveillance of Liam, including GPS tracking and recordings from covert cameras in their home. The extent of this invasion and control astonished even veteran investigators. As the true dynamics of Melissa and Liam's relationship came to light, public perception shifted. The initial image of Liam as a gold-digging paramour evolved into a more complex view of a young man ensnared in an abusive scenario. Initially charged with second-degree murder, Liam's case took a surprising turn as the mounting evidence of Melissa's manipulation and abuse pressured the district attorney to reevaluate the charges. Following extensive discussions and negotiations with Liam's defense, the charges were downgraded to manslaughter. After weeks of testimony and 3 days of deliberations, the jury found Liam guilty of involuntary manslaughter, acknowledging his part in Melissa's demise while also recognizing the compelling circumstances that led to the tragic event. Considering Liam's clean prior record and the case's extraordinary aspects, the judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison, with eligibility for parole after 3 years. The verdict elicited mixed responses. Some deemed it too lenient, while others contended that Liam had endured sufficient torment already.